So let's bring you in here, because you are one of the biggest players now as Harith, as far as managing this 15-year-long Pan-African Investment Infrastructure Fund. What exactly does that entail?
I think we moved from a premise which sort of like said, to get the development of infrastructure going on the continent, you're going to need a longer term outlook and a longer term belief in terms of the continent. To build these roads, these telecoms infrastructures, these sort of like all the type of things that you need to get development going, you need a longer term outlook. You need a longer term payback with regard, and financing that with short term capital is very difficult. And what we had been seeing up to now was capital which wanted to be in and out of projects on the continent within a 5-year sort of like period. To build the infrastructure which the continent needs, you're going to need capital and an attitude which takes much longer than that.
So, but you said earlier that you had 9 major investments across the continent. Give us more detail about that.
We have partnered with TAV in Tunisia. We have invested in a local airport in Gauteng. We have invested in subsea cables, on the west coast alongside, Funke and her team. And those are the type of projects we've tended to focus on. And in the past 5 years that we've been at this, it has shown that there's a lot of change that is happening. There's a lot of demand. The good projects are able to attract the capital. The projects with the good sponsors are able to attract the capital, and the projects which are well packaged are able to attract also the right sort of cap, and also to be priced appropriately. Because I think, as we stated earlier on, the issue of pricing of African risk is one of the inhibitors. I mean, we've seen, earlier on, some of your North American and European, investors requiring, returns north of 20% in dollar terms for investing on a continent. And that makes it difficult to then even start with the project. So therefore, that's why we've been I think the continued appetite by locals and the continued, communication of the, appropriate African risk will maybe start attracting more capital to the continent.
We'll have another question here in front.
I'm Franny Leotier from the African Capacity Building Foundation. In addition to the bond markets, do you see any other opportunities of getting to scale, particularly given the very successful small and medium enterprises that exist in some countries? Do you see any opportunity in that area?
It's also we must take cognizance of the context of the continent's development. At which point is it within that development scale? It's at a point whereby, as we said, in 2000, we were a hopeless continent. In 2011, we were a rising continent. And with that, we can only achieve so much within a particular point in time. We are now at a particular point in time whereby perhaps, it is more within the private, unlisted assets that perhaps that we need to start building capacity. There is not that much depth, as Todd has mentioned, or scale within the listed environment, universe. So therefore, the build-up and the aggregating of all these smaller projects, of building many 200 megawatt projects, building many of those, starts building up to meeting that demand in a stepped up manner, and that starts delivery going. And through that, we are very sure that the next 10 years will look very different to today. But we have to take it within the context of Africa's own development. At which point is it now? What can work for us now? And then knowing what is possible at a future date.
Okay. Thank you so much, and we really appreciate your input and your participation here on Africa 360 on this program. And that brings the end to our special broadcast here from George, where some of the top thinkers on the continent and abroad came together to discuss Africa's much needed infrastructure development. Thank you.